Anywho, in Ireland on Boxing Day, there's some unbelievable action. There is no better place to start in Ireland than the fact that Faugheen went and won his Grade 1 over fences. I felt like this was Faugheen's, not necessarily swan song like we wouldn't see anymore. I thought his swan song was when he fell over hurdles a few years back. But he won a Grade 1 over fences and he hacked up, didn't he? Absolutely hacked up. He ran against Sam Crow. We already touched on him running against Fakir Doudrey before getting beat. Oh, yeah, Faugheen was good. For thinking for festival-wise, I still said it at the beginning of the season and I stuck for it for the rest of the season. I didn't feel like he was going to be capable of mixing it at the festival. So despite him going and doing that and spanking up Sam Crow, again, maybe being stubborn or whatever, I love Faugheen, who doesn't, but I didn't watch it and think, wow, he's going to go and win a JLT. Maybe I should have done. What did you make of his performance?
I thought it was really impressive. A bit of egg on my face, as I said all last season, that I didn't think he should be jumping fences at his age, but he went and done it on heavy ground at Limerick on Boxing Day, winning a Grade 1. So you can't argue with that. I think at that time, that was not long after the old Sam Crow Fakir Doudrey's debate, wasn't it? And after that race, a lot of people were saying, "See, Sam Crow wouldn't have beat Fakir, blah blah blah." But I mean, it was a really good performance. I probably didn't take it as literally as I should have done because he ran blind at the festival, didn't he? But probably should have took that a bit more literally than what it was. But my mistake. I don't know why I didn't.
I think normally I know from my own perspective that normally I would have looked at that as a festival line and all that bits and pieces, and I would have taken it more literally. It simply was the age thing. I genuinely thought at one point, getting near the festival, I know it's his novice status and it would be balmy to do it. For the fact that the champion hurdle was so open, I actually thought when they were talking about supplementing Silas Emery, bollocks to that. Supplement 14, he'll go and fucking win a champion hurdle again. That's the state of affairs I felt with the champion hurdle, but I don't know. I'm speaking for you there. Maybe it was because of his age. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, I do think it was probably the age thing. I'd probably written him off before he'd even jumped the fence, to be honest. So it's just those little things that get in your head, don't they?
So we're the worst two to be talking about Faugheen in this review, then, really, aren't we, for any of his races? So we'll move swiftly on. We've already mentioned him. Fakir Doudrey went in the Racing Post Novices Chase over 2 mile 1 at Leopardstown, but not so stupid to fall into that trap. I mean, you knew better than I did, but we both knew who was going to win this race. Who won this race, Daryl?
Notebook won this race, Dave.
And isn't this a great form line into the Arkle at Cheltenham proper?
Do you know what, right? It is the best bloody form line in terms of for the Arkle going forward. It really is. This Racing Post Novice Chase. I mean, you look at the horses that have won this: Larichburg, Footpad, Bin, Duvan, Clarkham, like all horses that have either gone on to win the Arkle or gone on to run very well in it. And Notebook, for me, this was the day of reckoning for Notebook for me. I'd already put him up at a big price. I backed him on the day. I tipped him on the day at 9 to 1. Told a few people to get on him. And this was the day whether he was either going to be, it was make or break. You're either been banging on about Notebook and he's going to go and win the Arkle, but he needs to win this. That was my thing in my head. He has to win this race if he's going to win the Arkle. And then he went and did it, and he stayed on really well. He was really strong at the finish line. I was so impressed. He gave £7 to Fakir and a beating. Fakir weren't going to get that weight at the festival. Like, there was nothing really not to like. If I wasn't confident before this race, I was much more confident after this race. There was no way for me he could turn that around. Dave,
it was good. And the thing is, Lorena was in that race. She was actually centre favourite. She bled. We know she's a bleeder anyway, so you never trust a bleeder. It's one of them, though. Again, like we've just touched on with the Faugheen thing there, not necessarily say we played down his 10-length victory because it was impressive, but after Notebook had won this, so many people that weren't in the Notebook camp were coming out saying, oh, if Fakir Doudrey had jumped better or if he'd have got to him soon, all that sort of stuff, they were still saying he would have won. And that's what I love about especially the novices, and especially when it comes to this time of year. People are in like certain camps. It's like football derbies, all that sort of stuff. We have to be very, very careful how we play those parts because everyone's conscious of doing it and everyone does it. but you've got to be very careful of being you stick into a camp of it. I didn't give Forheen any respect going into the JLT. I'd already written off before he'd even jumped the fence for the season. No matter what he was going to do for the season, I'd sort of talk myself away from him. You can't do that sort of stuff. And the same with like a Notebook there. Obviously, it didn't pan out when he went to Cheltenham, but I was the same as you. He's a big price for the Arkle. I fancy him for the Arkle. I think he could be an Arkle horse. You're getting 7-1 for basically a mini Arkle here. I thought he was better than Fakir Doudrey. Like I said, I thought Sam Crad him covered. Lorena, I didn't necessarily trust her. Never trust a woman. No, but it was the time to back. I think he was 9s or 10s the night before as well. But it's just nice that time of year, like you're saying, in terms of trials towards the festival. Maybe I edge into it a little bit too much. But if you're looking at a horse potentially to be winning these sort of races, then you want to be having one eye on the festival target it might be going for. Like you touched on, Epitaph was 2-1 favourite for the Christmas Hurdle, 6-1 the night before, 25s or 28s with a boost for the Champion Hurdle. Notebook here would have been, I don't know what price he would have been, maybe still probably 16s, 20s, but you're getting a price about him to win at the festival. You're getting half that sort of price for him to just go and win this particular race here. It pays for your anti-post bet. They're the sort of lines you should be thinking of, I personally think. But yeah, I was impressed with it. We expected it though, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I was hopeful more than I've expected. But at this point of the season, like I was saying a minute ago, I'd done all the English, I'd done the English novice chases, weren't worth anything in the 2 mile division for me. Notebook had done everything right. He'd given £7 to the favourite, beat him in Ireland. The 4-year-olds back here was 5. 5-year-olds can't win the Arkle, as we know. And then, who else is there? Who else is there for him to beat? Do you know what I mean? It got to that point. And then you watch his price after this race. I think he went 4-1 or 3-1 joint favourite for this with Fakir for this race, for the Arkle. And at this point, this was the point Box Day. I thought this is great. We've had a great. We're on Epitaph. We're on the Cheltenham Hurdle, the Champion Hurdle bandwagon. We've got a great price on Notebook. We're on him at 33s and bigger for the Arkle. Like, great day. This was a really good day. It just mad.
There was also there's lots of racing over Christmas, so we definitely need to just stick to the better graded races here. But Aspire Tower won the Knight Frank Juvenile Hurdle, which is a half decent juvenile, to be fair. I know I said that I don't really get too excited about triumphy horses this early-ish on the season, but getting near Christmas, you've got to pay attention to it. He'd hacked up his maiden hurdle. He was about 2-1-ish, I think, for this race, and he absolutely bolted up in this as well. It probably was at this point when, I know you say you question it when they win by wide margins, and I know he didn't particularly beat too much, but after he won and he was so impressive here, I really did think, hang on a minute, he's got to be thought about for Triumph Hurdle contender. We can obviously find out more when they go on to the Dublin Racing Festival, but they're the sort of horses, again, at that sort of time of the year, if you're fancying them to win a particular juvenile, you wouldn't expect them to win that far. Do you want to have one eye on an anti-post market, or do you not? I still think, obviously we know he didn't go on and win it, but I still think when I've talked about getting a few darts in there at big prices, there's so much racing that's going on, but just pay attention to these races. If you think something is real decent and you're talking 25s plus as an anti-post poke for something towards Cheltenham, then if you're backing them over Christmas period, then do have a thought, I think, for the festival itself. I didn't with Aspire Tower. I didn't expect him to win that far, but and the price would have shortened up. Anything to add to that?
I totally agree. I think if you're backing anything at this time of year, in these like high-profile races that have produced Cheltenham Festival winners down the years, I think there's nothing wrong with, if you fancy something at 10-1 and it's 33 or 40-1 or 50-1 even, split your stake, or at least stick a quarter of your stake on that anti-post market bet as well. Because the last thing you want to be doing is not backing a horse, or backing a horse like Aspire Tower at 15-8 when he's 9-1 for the Triumph, and then he goes and hacks up by 18 lengths, which I thought was really, really impressive. And then he goes straight in and he's 7-2 joint fab for the race, which I think is after this. So there's just money. You can always get yourself out of an anti-post situation if you're using the right bookmaker. So, back to lay, you're getting a free roll for your money. So there's nothing doing that. But at this time of year, it's so important to get on at the big prices.
Oh, it is, and because the action comes so thick and fast, we'll see it now as we move on to the day after Boxing Day when there's even better racing. Well, not better, but there's just really action-packed racing. But the other beautiful thing again with the anti-post punts is, like you say, some bookmakers you can get out of. Bet365 this year, I'm worried about what they're doing with their cash out, so that's something for another day. But if they get beat on Boxing Day or anything bad happens to them, you've still got a ticket to Cheltenham. There's still redemption to maybe be claimed. And if we're talking about stuff at big price, I'd just say don't necessarily put yourself off. But we'll move on to that 27th, because I said these were going to be short episodes, but we can't. This is only 10 days we're covering, and it's just ridiculous. So, over in again, 27th, the Paddy Rewards Club Chase. This, oh my word, this was possibly was a race. There was question marks where Min was going to maybe be running. I know he ran in the John Dirk a little bit earlier on, but whether he was going to run in this race as well. I think after he didn't come in, definitely earmarked the fact that he was going to be going Rhino. But we got to see Chacun Poursoir running. He ran up against a Plutard. They're running off the levels. Chacun Poursoir obviously maybe needing the run or whatever, was sent off odds on favourite. But a Plutard did go and win over 2 mile 1. Now, I sat and watched the race thinking, Altior's still going to win the champion chase. I still think inside of Emery's lively outside of the champion chase. I thought Chacun Poursoir ran quite well. Did seem to probably blow up a bit. I didn't think a Plutard really is an out-and-out 2 miler. I still thought he was going to be going Ryanair after. And then I'm thinking to myself, if I think he's a Ryanair horse and he's beaten the potential biggest threat to Altior and Defi in a champion chase in Chacun Poursoir, then I don't know. I was probably a bit disappointed with Chacun Poursoir, because for me, if he was going to be a champion chaser, he should have been winning that. I know it was his first start in open company, but I just, rather than being impressed with what a Plutard did, I was more just deflated that Chacun Poursoir probably underwhelmed a bit for me. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought he's gone well previously, fresh after long break. So I thought that he should have been really fit and ready first time up to go. So you'd have to be a little bit disappointed, especially how heavily backed he was on the day. It kind of burst his bubble a little bit for me on this day. And I thought a Plutard was pretty impressive, but I've always had a little bit of a question mark around a Plutard prior to that. Like, what did he beat in the handicap that he won the year before, etc. So I wasn't. Yeah, I think if you are a supporter of Chacun Poursoir, well, that I know he was beaten, but you still would be disappointed with the performance, even though he was beaten. When a horse is beaten, you can still take a little bit of a gleam of light from it, can't you? But I don't think there was really much to shout about in that performance for me. And that was the moment I maybe I was too hasty, but writ him off. I writ Chacun Poursoir. I did, and that's the honest truth. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I felt the same, to be honest. And then obviously we don't know what's going to happen, because obviously he didn't run at Cheltenham, but it still boggled me. I know he runs after this, but I don't know. It's the opinion thing, and it's that bit like I'm saying about people being in camps and stuff as well. I think people that liked Chacun Poursoir beforehand for a champion chase would have just looked to take the positives out of it. People like us that probably didn't have him as a champion chaser anyway would be almost patting ourselves in the back, maybe trying to exaggerate it to maybe prove our point a bit. It's just very tricky at that time of year. You do have to be very careful, because you want to be quite blunt and just think, right, this is my initial thought, this is how I feel. But you do just have to be a bit careful, don't you? Because I think we can start getting a bit exaggerating on what we're already thinking. Abacadabra's won the future champion novices hurdle. It was matched between him and Blue Sari. Blue Sari was all but pulled up, miles back. So because of that, and it was a poor performance, as much as Abacadabra should run well behind Envoy Land, I'm just thinking, been beat by Envoy Land. He's won a grade 1 nicely, which is a reasonable marker towards Cheltenham, but his main rival we beat, and he only beat Heaven Help Us. That even excited me for Master Debonair Heaven Help Us, because of some sort of backwards literal line with that. But yeah, I didn't think there was enough in that race to make me think Abacadabra should be winning the Supreme. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I wasn't overly impressed. I thought he did it. He wandered around, jumped the last, and Abacadabra just wandered a little bit. He took him over, Jack Kelly just come over to the rail, and then he ran on again. That was probably, for me, his worst performance. Like, in terms of how I felt about it, it was probably his worst performance for me. And I thought he might have reached the ceiling, and then might be just coming back down again. because he had what 3 runs before that, on soft heavy ground. It's quite, he had quite testing tasks prior to that, and I just thought maybe we've seen the best of him here, and therefore
this is where it's just so good that we're going back and we're talking about truthfully how we thought at the time, because it does just go to show, like, I feel like it's probably our snobbiness sometimes, because it is so thick and fast, so you don't really get enough time to review all the races and look at them really, really in depth. And we're obviously giving our truthful opinions at the time, but I don't think you were really in Abracadabra's camp before that race. Neither was I. So he's gone and won a Grade 1 by 8 lengths. Admittedly, his G5 was nowhere, and we're both just like, yeah, fuck it, he's shit. I know I'm not literally saying that. You know what I mean? It's that bias like beforehand. He's gone and done everything he needs to do, isn't he? And he still can't please us. So again, like I said, I just feel like this, as much as this action is thick and fast, the people that liked Abracadabras would have been backing him for a Supreme before that at a reasonable price, which we'd have been suggesting people do, but we wouldn't have been thinking about backing him for a Supreme. And even afterwards, we wouldn't be thinking about backing him for the Supreme, or being gutted that we missed out on the price. But potentially, in the back of our minds, to be sensible, maybe we should think about it. Anywho, before I talk too much about horses that I don't like, All Mankind went and won the finale juvenile at Chepstow. I talked about Cerberus, bought by JP, came over for this race. All Mankind, I think we got 5-2 or 3-1 in the week leading up to this. Obscene, again, I kind of liked All Mankind beforehand, but I sort of pitched him as, maybe he's not be good enough. Then I kept watching his Cheltenham run back, and I was thinking that was pretty impressive. His run here at Chepstow, I was proper blown away with it, because he pulled so hard. As they rounded the bend to come in, and we know how long a straight is to finish up at Chepstow, I thought he was done, and I thought he was going to be beat by 20 lengths, and he goes and wins by 9 in the end, finds another new lease of life. I genuinely thought after that performance, I expected him to have another run in between, but I genuinely thought after that performance, he actually is a Triumph Hurdle winner. And I know I said it's too early in the season to be talking about juveniles like this, but there you go. Me being thick, I was so impressed with this. I actually thought he's going to win the Triumph. What can possibly get near him? What did you make of it?
I was always I just don't really like front runners. I just don't really warm to front runners. I thought he was really impressive. I liked his Cheltenham performance the time before, and I liked this performance at Chepstow, but I just always felt like he was always stealing an advantage on the front end. I just always felt like Harry Skelton was giving him a very, very clever ride, and it was steaming off and then just slowing the pace down, then kicking on again, and stop, start, gallop for the horses in behind. And I mean, on heavy ground, when a horse is doing that, he only got an RPR of 143 at the time, and I just thought it was just something a bit suspicious about him. Every time he ran, for me, I was just a little bit suspicious about him. But there's no doubt he's a decent horse. I can't warm to these front runners, especially juveniles front runners, because it's very hard to get a handle on the juvenile form, isn't it? At this time of year, in December. I mean, by the time you're at like January, February, and you're closer to the festival, you can see that form working out whether or not it's any good. But for me, I was just always suspicious about All Mankind, and I could never really see him winning the Triumph. So I don't know. He won, and he won well, and I was like, oh, he's won again. Like, that's how I felt after this. Oh, he's won again. I didn't really rate what he had beaten, and I don't know. I didn't really have a strong opinion on him.
Yeah, and I think you're probably right to do it. I've been in and out of the camp with the juvenile stuff, because the year that Defi won it, he ran loads of times, and I backed Defi a way out, because a friend of mine who started getting into horse racing, who's now turned into a bit of a judge, kept winding me up that he would back him at massive prices, kept saying he was going to win. I think we were out having a few beers, and he basically, I left my phone and he just put a bet on for me out post, which I thank him for now, because I got him at 25s. But because it doesn't normally happen that way, I've normally talked myself away from it. But I don't know. I just looking at All Mankind, I did genuinely think I'd seen enough to think that he was going to be a Triumph winner. But you probably were speaking more sense there, that you can't get too excited, even though I did. But again, I'm backing him anti-post for the Triumph before he goes and wins there. You're backing him at reasonable prices. I'm happy with that. It's the sort of ones where if they go and win and they end up being 7-2 after that, I wouldn't have been backing him off the back of that performance to win it. I know I've just said I think he's going to win a Triumph, but you know what I mean. I'm trying to get into him before they win those races. He goes and wins as I expected, but hey ho. So also, I mean, we're chip chopping from different tracks here, but we'll go back to Kempton. Actually, no, before we finish Chepstow, Potter's Corner won the Welsh Grand National. Done. Kempton, Desert Orchid Chase. We should have seen Altior running that, but obviously the surname effect was still on. This was another probably lackluster, I would say. I mean, technically it's only a grade 2, not to belittle horses or whatever, but we talked about this horse in a previous episode, Capeland, the Diego de Charmiel fiasco. Capeland was sent off 7-4 favourite for the Desert Orchid Chase. Ends up finishing 4th. Bundoran wins the race. Duke de Geneva comes over for Willie Mullins, which I actually thought was notable, probably should be winning it. I didn't even have a bet in the race, I don't think. I thought it was a pretty pish race before, and after Bundoran win, congratulations to him, but I thought it was a pish race after. Any more to say on that?
No, it was just an awful race. So Royale, the ground went for him. He's under penalty. Duke de Geneva has never done anything since the Arkle win, which in a good time, but it's just worked out poorly. It just was one of those races that you could sit there all day and probably still not pick the winner out of 5. So it just, it was a bit of a write-off for me, that race.
And then we can go on to the Wayward Lad Novices Chase, the 2-mile Novices Chase. So we touched on Grand Sancy having his debut in that Henry VIII. He ran in here. Al Dancer was in here. Fanny and Destrival. So he was an impressive French winner at Newbury, won a nice handicap. Again, we talked about Capeland winning a handicap, sent off short price for this race. He ended up finishing 5th, only beat one home, just like Capeland. Global Citizen. I don't think I did back him for this race. A few people did mention him saying about it, and this is another one. The action's so thick and fast. I was too busy fanning about racing over in Ireland. How he went off at 8-1 was probably a bit berserk, but he's the sort of horse. He's so keen. He goes so fast. I could just imagine if you were David Bass and you're sat on the back of a horse like Global Citizen, especially talk about how speedy Kempton is, 2 miles around there, just hurting over the fences. When I watched the race back, it just made me smile because I can't imagine as a jockey riding over fences there could be much more of a buzz than a horse like him flying over there. I thought it was a fairly decent performance, but I thought it was a weak enough race. I'm not thinking any of these have put any chance of Arkle credentials after that. Do you reckon?
No, yeah. At the time, I thought this was well below par renewal. Didn't think any of them had a chance going forward. I was quite more interested in Fanny and Destraval than anything else in the race. But it just looked like things were happening far too quickly for that horse. Clattered into every fence he touched. He still stayed on his own feet and 4 lengths. So I didn't. On the basis of that, I thought it was a terrible renewal, and the time was so slow in comparison to the other race on the card over, which was won by I can't remember now. But in comparison, it was so much slower, so. Yeah. It was just even though Global Citizen went off at 100 miles an hour, it was so much slower. Was it this race that was so much slower? The other race that was so much slower. One of the two.
I imagine this would have been fairly quick because it was Global Citizen, but I'm not too fussed on the times, to be honest. They end up swaying me, especially when it's bad ground. I normally just leave them as they are. Anywho, we'll leave there. We're going to go back over to Limerick because
I'll tell you that back. It was a Desert Orchid Chase that was really awfully slow.
Yeah, exactly. Bollocks to you anyway. Right, over in Ireland, Fury Road. So again, horses we're talking about that we've got affiliated to we like. I backed Fury Road a long way out for the Albert Bartlett. I love these staying novice hurdles in Ireland. Hopefully I've said it in every episode. I really want to ram this into people's heads because I know we've got a decent stays novice hurdle program over here as well, but I feel like the typically better stayers in this country will go for the middle division races like your Time Hill does, and then they'll build up from a 2.5 mile. Then they might be trying 3 miles the first time in an Albert Bartlett. Whereas in Ireland, they've got loads of these graded listed races where you get nice horses in there. So Well Set Up's been mentioned loads of times. She won plenty of races over these sort of distances. This race that was a grade 2, Fury Road was in there, Well Set Up was in there. Vise Loire, who hasn't really gone and done as much as it should have done after. Same silk as Hurricane Fly. I think that's quite a nice one. Quartz de Roux, another one that I think is quite nice. I think that's moved yards out. That may even be with John Joe O'Neill now. But it looked like it was a half decent enough race. Fury Road was even money favourite to go and win it. I was pretty impressed with the way he did it. I really did think after this, like I say, Well Set Up has been mopping up over there. I thought Fury Road's proper Albert Bartlett winner. And like I touched on, Monkfish had gone and won his. I think it might have been his first try ever hurdle, 2 miles 7. He'd won a race anyway, or maybe he was beat first time. Anyway, he'd won earlier in December. There's just some nice graded races in there that I think slightly get overlooked. I don't think you would have paid too much attention to the race, to be honest, like most people, but I was pretty impressed. Did you watch the race back, or did you see it?
Yeah. I watched it back just with a focus on Fury Road, obviously for the Albert Bartlett going forward. I thought he was out on his feet. To be honest with you, at the end of that heavy ground at Limerick, I thought he was out on his feet. I didn't think he was a strong stayer. Can you believe that? I didn't think he was a strong stayer.
I thought he looked like he was going to get caught, and then after 3 miles in a bog, and he managed to find that half a yard, I just looked at him and just thought, obviously you don't want to just press the button last minute on him, but he was able to do that and he went and won. I proper thought he was Albert Barty material after that. I think as the season went on after, I maybe played it down a bit more after, but I was already on him at that point, so I didn't really care. Sorry, go on, I cut you off there. Right, Apples Jade wins the Frank Ward Memorial Hurdle the next day, the 28th we're on to now, which is second to last day that we'll be really talking about. Do we think Apples Jade's back at this point now? She's gone and won over 3 miles. They put the tongue tie on, they put the cheek pieces on. She's been pants in between. We talked about Honeysuckle being so impressive early in December. She's got a hat top over there, won by a massive distance. Everyone was talking about her being stale all along. Did you think Jade's now back, or did you think Apples Jade's won an absolute, with respect to the other horses in there, piss poor grade 1?
No, I didn't think it was that bad of a grade 1 at the time. I'm quite a big fan of Kilelta Vic. God, that was a hefty role. But I didn't think it was that bad of a grade 1. I really didn't at the time, and I thought she was really, really impressive. I mean, like I say, you sort of have to question the 17 lengths, but she had done similar before. You know, she had won like by nice margins before at Leopardstown. So I just thought she sprung back to life. First time cheek pieces back at Leopardstown, over 3 miles. That's it now. I thought, put her away. Let's just let her go there fresh. Let her go to Cheltenham fresh. And I thought, with the cheek pieces on again, second time. I thought they worked the second time. I said, why not? She looked back to her absolute best there for me. That at the time of the running, of course.
Yeah, see, I put it back. I don't normally question him as much as you say I should, but I did question it there because, you know what I mean, Harry was back in second. Ricardis didn't run his race. Penhill didn't really run his race. I mean, it was nice that she went and won, but I looked at it. I'd seen enough from her before to think that she's a bit of a dog, and I'd also seen enough of her to know that you're going to get your fingers burnt at Cheltenham. Kind of felt like maybe she was like the bet to play that day, but I think she was betting short enough. Yeah, I wasn't getting too excited about it, but again,
yeah, I mean, I went over it. Sorry about it. I know she doesn't like Cheltenham, so it was never going to be a bet going forward. But I thought if they were going to have a chance with her, I thought 3 miles, put her away, second time cheek pieces, she might have a chance. I thought she was excellent there, but yeah, never in terms of Cheltenham. When they don't handle it, they don't handle it, do they?
Absolutely, and she's won at Cheltenham as well. That's how bad we are with this. But Savills Chase, same day at Leopardstown. Delta Work won that. I struggle with this race year after year watching it to really know what to make of it. I feel like it was a nice enough performance. There was a fairly bunched finish. Mona Lee was only beaten ahead. I don't think Mona Lee stays. Kenboy didn't really run that well. Obviously, had hacked up in it before. Presenting Percy was coming back. We all know that I don't really like Presenting Percy. I kind of felt like we all know that Delta Work's half decent, but I didn't watch it and think Gold Cup horse, which is what I feel like that race should be making me think. I just felt they were all too bunched in a finish. Did you feel differently?
Yeah, I thought Gold Cup in that. I thought that race, at the time, I thought that race is probably going to be as strong as the Gold Cup would be at the time. and I thought that he jumped okay. I mean, well, let's be honest, he jumped poorly, and he still won the race. And I thought, Christ, that horse has got some engine. And I thought that is exactly what you need for a Gold Cup. I thought I'd had one. Well, look, you know what the hard luck story of him, or I feel the hard luck story of him the year before in the RSA. So I just feel he had such an engine. I just thought, yes, he's come good. He's come good here, and I thought this is a really strong race in open company. He's the Grade 1 winner. This is it. He's going on to Gold Cup glory. But yeah, that was the way I felt after the race. Honestly, I thought that race was as strong as what the Gold Cup would be, and I thought he was only going to improve.
And I think, in fairness, as well, you touched on it when he ran in the Down Royal race before. It was his first race in open company. Didn't really expect much from him. And then you were thinking that he'd be one to watch next time out. So your probably thought process going into this is, if he's going to be a Gold Cup horse, he's got to go and win this. He goes and wins it. So as far as you're concerned, he's a Gold Cup horse, that's the way to be looking at it. But again, we have these little afflictions with horses and stuff like that, which is why it's so good to get a number of people's opinions about it. Because I may have been more swayed to the fact that I downplayed Don't-Work after what he did in that RSA. Again, it is all about opinions, but there's just enough in there. But this is where, again, we put our stuff out there for free. There's plenty of other people who put stuff out there for free. I mean, we're an hour into this second half of December. If anyone's made it this far, then congratulations to you. But it's not to get the views from lots of different people, isn't it? Because we all see things differently. No one knows for definite who's right or who's wrong, but it's nice to maybe balance it with there. We're open and we're honest all the way through the season, so you'll be able to tell whether maybe I'm downplaying a performance or don't like the horse, and the same you'll be able to tell if Darryl really likes one, he might be over-egging it. It's the same with like what happened with Champ last season, wasn't it? Everyone knows how much you love Champ, but you were probably his harshest critic last season. And that's, again, it speaks volumes of the way that we look at racing. I know I've said there will have afflictions of horses and we might not give them the full credit, but when it gets to Christmas and there's literally Grade 1s every single day and it's on top, it's all consuming. Obviously, we'll go back and we'll watch stuff after, but you have to sort of trust your first gut experience, see what other people are saying. But there's plenty of time between Christmas and Cheltenham. There'll be gaps where there's not a lot of racing on there. It is a really important period, I think, to go back and watch stuff back. Not saying it's going to change your mind or anything, but I might have played down a performance and I should watch it back and actually upgrade it. But one performance that I didn't need to watch back to upgrade, because I didn't think it was very good, but I was happy to put a line for it, was Time Hill in the Challow. How did the Cashel man give him a race?
Who knows? I think Time Hill is a proper horse. I know we should be talking about future targets, but I think that is a Stayers Hurdle winner in the making, I do.
But this is the thing with him, right? The Fiddler on the Roof performance, we've already talked about in October, right? We were both impressed with him there, weren't we? It's hard to look like full long season talkers, but I'm thinking Ballymore from there. He goes and wins that race at Cheltenham, beats like Champagne Well a bit. I'm still thinking Cheltenham experience Ballymore, but the fact he's only just beaten Champagne Well, I'm thinking, is he that great? Then he goes and does that Newbury in the Challow. I mean, he should have won that by miles as far as I'm concerned, especially because Enrillo and the lights were in there as well. They did pull well clear of everybody else, but yeah, I sort of downplayed him a little bit. But of how well he ran in the Albert Bartlett and how well he ran in the Champion Bumper the year before, I'm still caught with Time Hill. And I know we're talking about this as we were looking at the time, but at the time I looked at it thinking he needs to go Ballymore. Don't want him in the Albert Bartlett, I can't have him. I was disappointed in the fact that he got beat by the Cashel man. I mean, the Cashel man got so close, but yeah, maybe for like future reference and going forward with him, there's a bit about him, isn't there, where maybe just does enough.
Yeah, look, I know we're going off a little bit off topic again, but if you're going to be 100% honest, he should have won the Albert Bartlett this year. If he would have got a clear run at that final hurdle, he would have. Well, you don't know how much anything else would have pulled out, but he would have won that race. And yeah, I think you're right. I think he doesn't want to hit the front too soon, and I think he only does enough. But I think he's got loads under the bonnet. That's for sure.
That is hurdle then. Right. 29th, now we're on to the last day that we'll be covering. Neville's Hotel Novice Chase, Battle over Doyen, went and won that 3 mile. I mean, we touched on him in the November part where, again, we've already sort of made our minds up with him. We don't particularly like him as a staying chaser. We know what he's like at Cheltenham. We're thinking of those sort of targets. He's a short price over Christmas. As far as I'm concerned, just let him go and win. Now, all of this said, I mean, this we picked up in the February episode. I was mad keen on him at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival when he fell, when he was beaten anyway. Again, I should go back and watch this sort of stuff. And this is why it's good to review it, because if I'd have made notes at the point and just saying that it wasn't that great a performance, maybe I wouldn't have got so excited after. But that was more the fact I was trying to take on Forheen than anything. But yeah, again, he won. He was an odds-on poke. Probably didn't even look at the race twice, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought Champagne Classic was the one to take out of the race, really. To be honest, I mean, this was this the day where the ground was quick enough and they was pulling all their horses out? Leopardstown it was.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
yeah, good ground it was. Yeah, and everything was coming out.
Yeah. So that was
was going to run in here. Ederindo was going to run in here, and then a fair speakeasy. But yeah, it was supposed to be a proper race, and it turned out to be not a proper race.
Yeah, it turned out to be a schooling session for the Jinglestone horses. I mean,
but yeah, it's one of them. Again, when the fields get depleted and it's a performance on like those sort of things, yeah, there's only so much you can do in there. You can watch the replays as many times as you want. Try and pick something out of it. The small fields, dodgy grounds, is what it is. The Matheson's hurdle at Leopardstown as well the same day. Sharjah went and won that. It was probably around about this time where we were talking about the good ground, all those bits and pieces, the horses being pulled out. More so, I've said to myself now that Sharjah's a good ground merchant. He's bound to win that race because he's got his ground. I don't think I did it back in that day. I don't know whether I'd have taken him on with anything either. But yeah, I kind of expected him to win because of the ground, and then he won. So that was left it with it, I think. Did you make any more of a comprehensive summary than that?
Not really, but the big talking horse was Classical Dream, wasn't it?
Yeah, after flopping and then coming back, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, Petit Bichoir was the sort of horse you race around, wasn't it, at that sort of point. And Sharjah wasn't really that impressive. No, it was a bit of a nothing race at the time for me. I think a lot of people over-egged that performance, actually, at the time. I think a lot of people were giving that were raving about Sharjah's performance there, but you know, it was good. It was good ground, wasn't it? It was what it was. It was good ground. He beat Petit Bichoir 3.5 M's. So, I mean,
yeah. And then it wouldn't be any of our previews if Stormy Island didn't win another Grade 3, but she won another Grade 3 man's hurdle. We've talked about it over and over again. That's her level. So that does wrap up December. Anything else you want to chuck in before I wrap it up?
Christ, no. God, there's so much.
It's supposed to be a quick 10-minute episode. We've covered 10 days worth of racing, but this is what I mean. Do you know what? I'm going to split this up into a couple of bits, I think, just to make them shorter episodes, because why not? To keep people in. It just goes to show how thick and fast it is that time of year. So my main takeout for this will be, it's exhausting. There's so much racing going on, but early January it fizzles down a little bit. We know the end of January we get Trials Day. We know early February we get Dublin Racing Festival. You have got a couple of weeks after January. It's nice to take some time out. Rewatch some of these races, take a bit more of a unbiased view of it, I suppose is the thing to say. And there's so much content out there. There'll be loads of people telling you what they think of it. Just listen to what other people are saying, mostly me and Daryl. But anything you guys have got to say when it comes to Christmas, maybe we'll do a little piece week after Christmas, say early January. We'll do a little live Q&A. We'll review the Christmas period with everyone to go through it in a bit more detail, because I think it will help me anyway. I'll be doing it myself. We'll probably be talking. So let's bring the people in.
Yeah, nice one.